Hello, good morning. How are you doing on this beautiful Monday morning? You're welcome to Good Morning Port Harcourt, coming to you live from Silverbet Television. And we know, of course, you had a great weekend, and I know that you're ready and get up for the week. Here on Good Morning Port Harcourt, we help your morning round off in a very nice way. What do we do every morning when we come here? We give you all the top stories that are making the news, and of course get to discuss a lot of topical issues that concerns you and I as Nigerians. Okay, today is simply going to be interesting because of course we go over to tell you what's happening on the headline of the news, that is reviewing the paper, look at the papers, as well as some top stories making the news. And as well, today we look at something very interesting. Now, you all, of course, must have heard of the fact that the presidential form for APC candidates is going for a whooping sum of 100 million. And as I speak with you, over 230 billion naira has been raised already. Did I say 230 billion? 230 trillion naira has been raised already as at now, because over 23 people have already bought the form. They have bought the form, and 100 billion naira each. Well, today we are looking at this matter. 100 million naira each, I beg your pardon. Why do I keep mixing these figures up? When the figures is so much that you jam them up, you know? Well, forgive me for that. You don't blame me, you know. Yeah. Well, so we'll go on a break. When we come back, we'll be looking at the papers, of course, and then we'll go into today's topic. We have with us a broadcast journalist that's joining us over on the show today. He's also the business manager of Silverbet Group right here in Port Harcourt. He'll be joining us to talk about this matter this morning as we look at this together. But first, let's, of course, see the headlines of the news. We'll take a break. When we come back. Good morning, Port Harcourt. Cakes are fully.
With the gradual lifting of COVID-19 restrictions across the country, life seems to be returning to something close to normal. But is it really? The coronavirus is still out there and remains deadly and highly contagious, only too willing to strike again and again and again. Do not drop your guard. Maintain good personal hygiene, avoid overcrowded places, and more significantly, get vaccinated. Remember, it's never over till it's completely over. This is a message from the Silverbet Group.
Glad to know that you're still there. Welcome back to Good Morning Port Harcourt as we look at what is making the headlines. We'll go first of all to the newspaper headlines, and there we have from Daily Trust. Buhari wants military as bandit skills courts in Zamfara State. Well, this has been ongoing for a while, and the warning incessant. I think it's high time he stopped warning, if you ask me. Too much warning and no action. How can a president warn like 3 times in a row of 3 months? I mean, it's either they are doing it or they are not doing it. And if they're not doing it, you know what to do as the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Okay, we'll move over from Daily Trust to leadership. And on leadership, we have that CSOs kick against aspirants' use of state resources for campaign. Oh wow, a story for another day. Well, can you separate bread from tea, or can you separate butter from bread? Your guess is as good as mine. Well, can they really do these elections from their pocket? Are they going to be checking this in any way? Well, they have the right to eventually, if those of them who will not succeed, who will not be enjoying immunity, well, you can as well take them through the legal processes of knowing how they funded their campaigns. Well, but this is what the CSOs are saying, and they're kicking against it strongly. And then we go to national economy. And there we have the mass exodus of Nigerians reveal deep economic crisis. Experts are warning that looking at the situation of the economy of the country right now, you can notice that everybody's attention is actually facing politics. Once it's time for politics in Nigeria, a lot of things suffer. People begin to, even the economy suffers well, because no attention is paid to what is going on with the economic process of the country, or what is happening to the economic process of the country. Everybody is just deep into the elections, and so that's why they say maybe they should all be resigning, so we can have people who are not running for election focus on of course these things, and concentrate and make sure that the economy doesn't suffer or things don't go wrong while people are busy deep rooted into electioneering process. And then we go to the Tribune, Nigerian Tribune. Right there we have odds against additional. Look at the presidential race, and well, it goes further to say that well, there are signs that of course the odds are very, very much against additional. And well, what AFDB code of conduct says, aspirants speak APC form. And then, of course, it also talks a little bit, you look at the other caption there, it talks about the death of Senator Ato Nzeribe, who passed on. We'll also be talking about him later on the show. I did like to do the obituary later on, because I like to start with the good part and then end with the sad news. All right, we go to the Guardian, and then we have Emefiele. You all must have heard, or some of you must have heard, that the CBN governor is running for presidency. All my likelihood for presidency, because he hasn't admitted. Right here on the Guardian, we have that Emefiele's 2023 aspirations. Rattles, financial experts and lawyers, everybody's looking at it. What is the gray area? How can someone who is the custodian of the financial institution of Nigeria be running for presidency and is not yet resigned from office? What does that implicate? What does that entail legally? Is it okay because he's in charge of the funds? I mean, you need to see where someone analyze how he's going to win the primary. I mean, you just see that, of course, everybody's expecting that he's the one with the dollars and all the currencies, and he's the one that, of course, is the custodian of Nigeria's wealth, and he can do what he wants with it. Well, he has also gone to the court to seek redress on this matter. Well, we all know that they are claiming, many of those groups are saying, oh, this group bought it for me, this one bought it for me. So him too is not left out, of course. Emefiele has also said that the form is actually a gift from farmers. An association of farmers have come together to give him this beautiful gift of a presidential nomination and interest form of 100 million. And well, he is looking at it and saying he's looking at the face of God. The last time he talked about it was around Saturday, where he released the statement saying that he is still looking at it and looking for the signal from God that he should run for the election. Anyways, he has also gone to court. His lawyer, Ozekome, has actually been approached, and they've taken the matter to court to see whether there is any trick around it that can enable him still retain his position and run for office. What is it about not resigning? They have to let us understand. What is it about leaving their office temporarily? Just leave it for a bit. You can have an arrangement where you can be reappointed if you lose. For goodness sake. So I mean, why is it so difficult? Well, we go to Daily Independent, where we have that FD borrowings crowding out lending to private sector. Well, analysts say it's unhealthy for the economy. You all know that for a while there's been so much borrowing going on, and of course you know that from us borrowing to I'm talking about borrowing not for investment, borrowing for project. I mean, capital project like railway project, and how much we're already impended into debt into countries like China and all that. You know, you would ask yourself, of course, where is this leading us to? Someone says, I hope we're not selling out the country and of course, the future of the country, because the unborn children will be the ones to have to service this loan for a very long time. So, of course, there are warnings that it is a danger sign, and analysts are saying that it could impend a lot of danger for Nigeria's future economy. And then let's go to the next paper, where we have the Nation. On the Nation, we have that APC slams 9 conditions on presidential aspirants. This one is actually has a trick inside of it. On the page 18 of their presidential nomination form, there is a section that says that you would agree with your team or with your people or your supporters that you will accept whatever outcome that the presidential primaries result in and support whoever emerges, and you would not refuse to be at meetings, neither will there be any anti-party activity when you do lose out. And then there's also a clause that says you're going to be signing a voluntary resignation withdrawal form. That is to say, you're signing a voluntary withdrawal form to say that you have signed and that you willingly withdrew, just in case the party decides on a consensus. And they are saying that this is the big wings. I'm talking about the big wings who are contesting for presidency. It is not going well with them, as they are saying that, how can I be signing that I will withdraw when I actually want to run? I have bought a form of 100 million naira. Does that sound like a joke? For heaven's name. And they are saying that is infringing on my right as a human, as a Nigerian, because I have the right to vote and be voted for. Why will I need to sign a withdrawal form that I'm going to be withdrawing from the race when I'm actually in the race? And well, these are all the conditions the APC is laying down. I think that might be what they'll be looking at their screening, and these things will be signed, of course, at the submission of this form. And while they are still looking at it here and there, we might be seeing court processes, because they might be going to court to question all this. Why is the APC, I don't know how to put it, I don't want to put words into it, but I hope they're not trying to complicate their party. Meanwhile, they are saying that you will accept it and not go to court. So we might see a situation where people might even be taking the party to court before the elections, because these are dicey. These issues are dicey. I have the right to vote. I have the right to be voted for. Why am I going to sign this form? Well, question for those people who are running. And then we go to the Punch, where the Punch is telling us that Emefiele heads to court as anger sprays over presidential ambition. Already gave you the info about that he's already headed to the court. He has already hinted his legal practitioner Zakome to actually seek redress of the matter in court, so that he is sure that he's on the right ambit of the law. And then we go to the Trumpet, where it says confusion over airline operators threat to suspend local flights. Well, that strike was actually called off. There was supposed to be a 2 days warning strike with the airliners, but they've called it off. And so, I mean, of course, flights are going on at the moment. And they go to this Nigeria under fire. He must resign, Tambuwa says. Well, these, of course, it's not just within the people in the APC. The PDP, which is, of course, the main opposition at this moment, is also putting their mouth in this, and they're talking about it. And they're saying that he must resign. You cannot be the custodian of the nation's CBN, Central Bank of Nigeria, and then you are going to stay in office and run for election. You have to resign. I think the court might be the best place to seek redress on that particular matter. And then finally, we have Nigerian News Direct, where it says aviation crisis, operators withdraw action on proposed shutdown. Meanwhile, you know, of course, the first to withdraw from this was Ibom Airline. Ibom Airline actually withdrew from it, saying that they are not going to be a part of it and they want to run as well. So, you know, you might find a situation where they don't have an agreement, all of them coming together to agree on this. Well, they have what they're agitating for. It's about the aviation fuel. It's really on the high at the moment, and they're saying the cost is way high. Well, these are many more other reasons as why they wanted a 2 days warning strike to actually send home their grievances. But apparently they looked at it and they said, well, it's a service for who can afford. There was a time flights were doing 150. I mean, just a trip, and people were paying. So I think they're leaving it at whether you can afford it or not, go for it. All right, well, that's the much you can take on this. But let's come back to Rivers State, where Governor Nyesom Wike, who is also a presidential aspirant for the People's Democratic Party, is saying that so long as he's concerned, he is already the candidate of the party, as no one can beat him. And the same person went further to say that he did like the church. He did actually happen at the Thanksgiving yesterday he held in River State, where government officials gathered to ask for prayers and, of course, thank God for the almost running of their tenure. And he did told the Anglican Communion to pray for him to win the presidential election. Well, he is so sure that he went further to now back to River State politics, and he is accusing Toye Cole, the one of the aspirants of the All Progressive Congress in River State, that he needs to answer for the $50 billion that was paid in $50 million that was paid into his account, talking about his company Sahara Group, which of course we know is an oil and gas company. And Wike is claiming that such an amount of money left the coffers of River State account into Sahara's account, and Toye Cole needs to explain what River State money is doing there. And he also went for that called INC, the Joint National Council, saying that they should look into this. They wouldn't want to bring someone who doesn't have love for River State, who only is interested in business. That he's a businessman who just wants to do business with his friend, as he put it, the former governor and present Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Mechi. That's what Wike is accusing the aspirant of the All Progressive Congress, Toye Cole, of. Well, on that note, we go to, of course, the sad news, which is, of course, the death of Senator Harcourt Zeribe. He actually has kicked the bucket. This sad occurrence happened yesterday. He was age 83. And of course, in 1983, he was the senator representing Olu, and he was there for a tenure. And he is also known to be a business mogul who has quite a number of businesses under his control. He is also a big winger. He's called the godfather who makes politicians. He's called the kingmaker. And of course, you talk about Harcourt Zeribe in Anambra State. Everybody knows that name. Well, he has lived quite an eventful life, and of course, talk about of course at that point, well, Imo and Anambra were joint, but now they are separated, of course. So Harcourt Zeribe is a known name in the East. Well, we would round off at this point, but just before we go, we are looking at the other corner. We'll be looking at issues in the All Progressive Congress, and these issues include these clauses in the filling of their nomination form, these things they are supposed to sign. Is it okay? But the main topic for today is the 2.5 billion naira that has been raised already. This is to say 25 people have already bought the nomination and interest form to contest for presidency under the All Progressives Congress. We'll be reading out their names for you when we come back, and together with we'll be looking at this with our in-house analyst. He is also a broadcast journalist as well as the business manager of Silverbird Television. We'll be right back, and he'll be joining us, and we'll talk about this matter. Remember, you can be a part of it via telephone, so stick around with us. We'll be right back.
Hello, good morning and welcome to Good Morning Port Harcourt, coming to you live from Silverbird Television right here in Port Harcourt, wherever you're watching us from. We say to you, we're all here to make your morning worth it. So we just go on straight to trending gist. And while you all are aware that over the weekend Plateau State, that state unfortunately has had the worst attacks when it comes to suspected herdsmen killing, and that this time around over 70 people were massacred on Sunday. It was a very deadly one, and it left several unascertained number injured. She is here on the grounds of the fact that as we speak, she's alleging that there's a screening going on at the moment in Government House, Port Harcourt, where some aspirants have been exempted from it, and she inclusively is in the list of people who were not allowed access to the screening point, despite the fact that she has everything.
There has been zero empowerment on the youth. There has been nothing done on employment or empowerment. It's been more of capital projects. It's been more of a project for structural projects, and that zero effort has been put into manpower development in the state. Do you think that they're making sense?
Okay, welcome back to this corner, and with me live in the studio is Mia Baka Iyanenge. You can call it MI if you want. And this morning he joins us on the program as we look at this very, very shaky topic. This is a rocket topic. Well, looking at the headlines, let's just quickly touch the clauses in filling of and submission of the APC presidential nomination interest form. Now, in the particular page 18 of the nomination form, it is actually there that they would accept whatever outcome the primary election results to, and this includes not going to court to fight any decision reached, whether consensus, whether indirect, whether direct primary. Whoever emerges as the winner, as chosen by the party leadership, would, of course, whether by the party leadership or the party members, would be the authenticated candidate, and there wouldn't be any contesting in court. That is number one. Then number two, they are meant to sign a withdrawal form, a voluntary withdrawal form, should in case there's a consensus that automatically says we agree to this consensus candidature. And this is even before going to the primary, not like this is as you're about to submit your form, you've already signed this. It's like signing your resignation before you're appointed. That's how it is. What do you think about this?
Okay, it's one thing that's clear there is a legal issue that is there. It's a legal basis. And to the best of my knowledge, the constitution of the land is greater than any other secondary or preceding law or conditions or rules that you create, which invariably means that whenever you're creating a sub-law, quote and unquote, or an extensive law, you must first observe what does the constitution of the land says. And I know very well that our constitution protects every individual, gives you freedom to express yourself, freedom to be to vote and be voted for, freedom to belong to any political party. So when they now try to cage you with their conditions, there is likely a loophole that when they go to court, there might be gray areas. It now become maybe legal academic juggling, because of course they will bring them to the law. What does the constitution say? And what does so invariably I cannot just say, okay, let's enter into a law where we will drink poison and kill ourselves. Okay, they will look at what does the law say. It may even amount that our agreement is even an offense based on what the law says. So I guess they have lawyers among them folks. They have lawyers as counsel to their party, and the best thing to avoid the legal complications and time wasting, because it may end up in going back and forth, court adjournment, and before you know it, no candidate is being represented. They should first consult their lawyers and get proper interpretation of the law based on what the constitution says before whatever they want. Because of course there are feelers, expressions of people who are not satisfied by so-called consensus. Like I think Magnus said, that consensus does not mean that we are all in agreement. It means that yes, some persons may agree, but that does not stop others from expressing their legitimate freedom in terms politically. So I think for me, whatever agreements, they should first go to the law. Get a good lawyer to interpret the law for them and be guided by it, so that they don't come back going in circles.
Okay, well, it's actually a legal matter. Obviously it is. But however, looking at this, what time do they have to go seek redress in court? And then look at the timeline for submission of form. You might be in court and then it closes up, and then you don't even get to be you don't have your forms even in their custody, so automatically you're disqualified. You can't contest again. So this thing is very dicey. It's something that they have to tackle with care, or else they might end up disrupting the peace of the party. Well, let's go to the cruise of the matter. We're looking at today. We're looking at the 100 million naira interest and nomination fee collected for presidential tickets. I'm talking about presidential forms for the All Progressives Congress. Now, there have been called by different quarters of Nigeria saying this is unheard of. Look at what PDP is taking for them. I'm not saying that they are the same and they have their right. They are different parties. They can do what they want. PDP is collecting 40 million. And even the 40
40 million, they were taken to court by someone who actually feels like it is on the high. And look at the APC, for instance, in a country where we are in and out of recession and hardship is chewing very hard into the skin of Nigerians. You have government serving government officials agreeing to collect forms. They say they have been, everybody now has contributory platforms where people have contributed for that. Okay, would it be out of place to say that this should be taken by the EFCC seriously and follow up the matter to know actually the processes these public office holders have arrived and been able to get forms at 100 million naira?
Yes, it should. Some social commentators have put it, sociologically, it's a marked distinction of a classist system, of a classist expression. The bourgeois, the people that have, because when you have 100 million, man, it's not peanuts. The roots and the source of your funds should be traced. And I think sometimes I'm not sure if it has been embedded into our electoral system, where you're not permitted to you on your own just throw funds into the political system, because it leads to corruption. Because again, the natural man that is greedy, when you put in money, the natural thing you expect is return on investment. And politics is not it's not business, but it is business. But it is not a one-man commercial business. But you can imagine that if you're bankrolling a venture, the natural thing is that you will influence the processes and the outcome, which wouldn't be fair. So if I'm a trillionaire, like one of the richest men in Nigeria, I can just sit somewhere and you send my money on errand to direct persons to act for me and determine what happens in that state. That's not democracy. That's not what we want to achieve. So particularly in the height of corruption in the land, which even the president has said, look, if we don't kill corruption, corruption will kill us. EFCC should be, by now they should have even, before the moment you indicate interest, EFCC should have been on the move to trace you. They say, okay, you are aspirant A, your history, your financial history, your transaction, how come? Fine, yeah, there is the guise of them buying for me, a committee of friends, a committee of my community, they bought phone for me.
Fundraisers.
Fundraisers. But actually, the law permits fundraising as a way, which is also done in the developed countries. Like you see, even in US, you see some elite businessmen, they come together and raise funds to support a candidate. They do it for their presidential candidates. They do it even for the governors, friends of the governor. People who believe associates, they'll come together, they raise money. But those persons in civilized countries, those persons, their transactions, their business concerns and goings are known. Okay, it calls for, it's a huge amount of money. And again, as some lawyers have also posited, when you put the amount at that huge rate, you're already creating a bar to say, okay, if you don't have, the don't haves don't cross this way. That's not what we want to achieve. You're saying you've passed the bill of not too young to run. How can a young man, somebody should come out from schools, maybe like from a university, for instance, and say, okay, I want to aspire to become a president. If the person deems it fit and the people see that person to have the quality to rule this country, should be able to. So after passing the law, you also create the enabling environment. How can you and I aspire? They have created to become president of this country. Well,
there's a consideration for young people. They call it 40 and below, though.
That you're supposed to
50% off, which is still high. Anyway, because if you cut it half, it's still not up to what PDP took. For their normal form, for the presidential form. It's 40 million. If you cut 100 million into two, you still have 50 million, which is still high. But let's look at it. Could it be that the APC foresaw that this would be a jamboree?
To make back their money?
No, I mean a jamboree that everybody wants to be president in the APC.
Yeah.
I mean, let's look at the list. What we have here.
We
have Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Yeah.
I like the list to be on the screen so that they can see.
Okay.
We have Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu. We have Professor Yemi Oshibanjo, the Vice President. We have, of course, the Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Chibika Amechi. We have, of course, Minister of the Niger Delta, Senator Godswill Akpabio. We have Dr. Bonayono. We have Senator Chris Ngige, who is also a minister. We have Senator Rocha Kocha. We have Senator Ebukule Amosu. We have
Pastor Tunde Bakare. I'm going to come to that one. You know, he's also a minister of God. And his own, nobody raised funds. He was the one that picked it up himself. This is a certain person that recently, there were rumors or there were stories, news stories everywhere that he's deeply indebted to the bank. The church he runs is deeply indebted to the bank. We will come back to that. Let's also complete this list that we have here. And of course, we go further. We'll see that, of course, Comrade Adams Oshomale is also running. We have Professor Ben Ayade, Cross River State Governor, also running. Governor Dave Umahi of Boy State also running. Dr. Kayode Fayemi of Ekiti is also running. We have Emeka Wajuba is also running. We have Senator Ken Namani is also running. We have Yahya Bello of Kogi State also running. We have Senator Ojius Okalu also running. Governor Badodu also running. Godwin Emefiele. We don't know whether he's running yet, but might likely run because he's also seeking redress in court to find out whether as a 7 senior governor he can run.
Right,
and then of course we go further. We have Ahmed Sani Yeriba is also running. We have Ajayi Boniface also running. Mrs. Uji Onyenye is also running. Pastor Nicholas Felix Nwabo is also running. These pastors, we need to know how they are able to do this, seriously. And then we go to Dimeji Bankole, the gentleman is also running. Former House of Representatives Speaker is also running. And then we have finally Yunusa Nuhu Ometo is also running. All these arrived at 25 names, making the amount 2.5 billion. Whopping NAIRA. One of the
interesting things here is the fact that some of the aspirants here are public servants, which establish salary scale levels and establish annual salaries. Okay, so you begin to ask. Some of them are ex-governors. So what? So by the time EFCC does the needful, and you check their financial history. Okay, and then so you will know this should be questioned. How did you come about 100 million just like that? And those persons who are even financing them should also come into the limelight. Okay, so it calls for if actually
financiers are allowed to be
yes,
faceless.
Of course,
they are allowed to be faceless too.
Well, but for security reasons, for the state, they have some exceptions, like the EFCC or whatever the EFCC and co they have privy to some internal or confidential information if it has to do with security matters and the state. They will not say it to you or say it publicly, but they can reveal it to EFCC for the benefit of not necessarily to indict anybody or victimize anybody, but there are rules. Okay, so it calls for questioning. These are persons who we must know how they got their monies, and who also bankroll them. We should know, so that when they go in there, so that when they go into office, because otherwise when they go into office, you find out that they want to pay back their sponsors. You understand? They're already indebted morally. So when they go in there, instead of you doing the will of the people, they'll now be using the money to do the will of their sponsors.
Their paymaster.
Sponsors, yeah.
Okay, well, but I asked a question just before I read through this list of 25 names.
Yeah.
That could it be that APC foresaw that it was going to be a jamboree? Everybody wants to run for presidency. Did they have a clue that this was going to happen? Because when we had 100 million, everybody thought, okay, well, this is going to streamline the numbers. And then boom, 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 they were all buying and we're like, oh, what's happening? And it doesn't look like the list has ended because more people will buy. Is this a bit to sustain power, like be a minister or sustain your office or negotiate for a good office? I don't know. Is it really, are they all really wanting to be president?
Obviously, they say the walls have ears. Obviously, say what you don't want your enemies to know, don't tell your friends. Obviously, words may have gone around, gossips, whisperings, and all that. So they must have felt the pulse of within the party, that yes, so many persons are hungry, so many persons want to try out this thing, So obviously, it's not out of it that they got hint. So they're trying to sever the whole lot. But then in doing that, as I said first, they also observing the law that says, look, okay, everyone is permitted to be part of the political process and participate, to be able to contest as a president. But when you put it at this level, you're already creating a no-go area. And then you cannot say again, when you make it difficult for me, it's like telling a 90-year-old man to jump down from a 2-story building. You want to kill the person, you understand? You say jump. A young person of about less than 20 may be able to do that. But an old man, obviously, you want to kill the person. So if you want to kill the youth, I say you should come and contest for presidency. But I think, well, to them, that is obviously, from the observation, is what they want to achieve, to sever the bandwagon from the men from the boys, those who are really men, come forward, step forward, kind of situation. So I think that's to be, but yet it didn't stop it, because this I don't think the door has closed.
Telling you, we might have up to 50 of them.
So the party has generated money, over 2.5 billion. So it's
a serious money for the party in a country people can contribute this money, in a country where there is already a crunch in the economy and people are
in a snap of a finger.
This is why most times, the people we look up to for help, just look at us and wonder, how can a country be in so much and yet in so much?
Let me digress. You mentioned it. Now, if we turn this around and say, okay, look, if we had turned this to be maybe a business venture for a community, to say, okay, we want to give educational scholarship to some students in so depraved community, maybe in the Niger Delta. They say, okay, these persons, we need aspirants to come and donate, please, 300 billion or 2 billion or 3 billion in a month's time. I'm sure you wouldn't get this figure. You wouldn't get it. They will, if at all they even come to that launching, they would donate 100,000.
I think I'm also interested to know the donors, to know the contributors, because this was quick.
Yeah.
Very quick. If you can raise 100 million within 2-3 weeks, it won't be bad for Nigerians to know the faces behind
very
this
well.
contribution. And so, is it out of place to say the EFCC should go further into?
It's not. That's why most of I said they should, because for some of them are public servants. Some of them are ex-governors, okay, who have held public offices, okay, majority of them. And naturally, in the peak of corruption in this country, this kind of thing, naturally, the moment you say, I want to be an aspirant, naturally, there should have been a security profile on you, which will involve your financial history. Who is this person? Okay, if they are not pawns in the hands of the gods, if EFCC is not a pawn in the hands of the gods, by now the gods should have been speaking. You understand? If by the time you pour, because by coming out alone, ordinarily on the background they should have been doing their thing, but by coming out alone, you have poured libation, so the gods should have been speaking by now.
Their candidates did not come pretending to have gotten the form from anybody. They came personally to the form. Yes. For instance, Godswill Akpabio.
Okay.
Didn't say anybody bought the form for him.
Okay.
He's the 7th minister of Niger Delta. And then Tunde Bakari too. The pastor did not say anybody bought it for him. He came to pick his form by himself. There are people in this list that did not come in the guise of anybody picking up their form for them. I know people like the Minister of Transportation. Of course, even the Vice President did not also come in the guise of anybody picking it up for him. Neither did Tinubu. We are aware that Tinubu is a businessman and has quite a lot of businesses he runs. So, I mean, someone can relate that Tinubu might be able to afford this, even though he was a past government official then, but he has lots of businesses running and he has proved to them, But a lot of them here, we don't know any particular venture that they're into. Most of them do not have businesses they run.
Yeah, the ripple is not actually about whether I don't have a right to amass financial wealth. I don't have a right to spend it how I want to spend it. No, the ripple is about doing the needful for the benefit of the doubt, okay, in this circumstance. Just as you said, these persons you've pointed out, fine, they have the right to acquire. Yes, like the Bajagaban that you just mentioned, he has a history. That's why I said every one of them have a history. So if you follow their history, their financial history, you will know at what point they grew their finances to be able to do this. Not that they cannot. So let anybody out there not say, I don't have the right to amass financial wealth. I don't have. You have. If you can acquire the whole world, why not? Legitimately, why not? Okay. So, but there are checks and balances. And part of the checks is like the EFCC to say, okay, so that along your financial progression and growth, let it be clean. If you are clean, fine, welcome. Okay, no, it's not that nobody wants to dictate for them or choose how they spend their money. No.
Okay, we're actually speaking with MI Miyabaka Ianenge, in-house analyst, is a broadcast journalist, as well as the business manager of Civil Bed Communication for Harcourt. Well, we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll look at how possible that I can pay 100 million and still sign that I'm withdrawing.
Excess money.
It's like I don't know what, man. I really need
before you understand it, your money long.
Just hold on the thoughts. Let's take a break. When we come back, of course, you can now call in on the phone number on the screen. The phone number will be on the screen there, so you can just get to call in and tell us what you think. Should the EFCC go in and probe on this? After all, we have the benchmark for if you go to the bank now and deposit 10 million, the bank will need to run a profile on you. So if they would do that,
they would even inform EFCC.
Yeah, that somebody has paid an amount of money. Yeah. So why is the EFCC silent? Is there a sellotape in the mouth of the EFCC boss? Is there something happening to them? Are their hands now tied?
Oh, the oil.
We'll be back after this break.
With a gradual lifting of COVID-19 restrictions across the country, life seems to be returning to something close to normal. But is it really? The coronavirus is still out there and remains deadly and highly contagious, only too willing to strike again and again and again. Do not drop your guard. Maintain good personal hygiene, avoid overcrowded places, and more significantly, get vaccinated. Remember, it's never over till it's completely over. This is a message from the Silverbird Group.
Okay, welcome back to Good Morning Port Harcourt, and we are looking at electioneering matters building up to the 2023 election, and so much is going on in the political parties. We look at the PDP, we look at the APC, and all round. And today we are looking at the APC. And of course, you must have heard, or some of you must have heard, that the presidential nomination and interest form is going for a whooping amount of 100 million. And so far, 25 aspirants have purchased the form. We're talking about those ones that were purchased for and the ones that purchased for themselves. And to the totaling of about 2.5 billion naira at this time is what has been raised by the APC through the nomination and interest form for presidential ticket. And we are looking at the matter this morning vis-a-vis the calls from different quarters and from legal practitioners saying that the EFCC ought to be brought in at this point to scrutinize and look at, of course, the sources of these monies that were raised for the forms. If it was raised from fundraising, let us have details of how it was raised through the fundraising. And if it's from the private pockets, how did they come with that amount of money? It is important because at this time when the nation is crying deeply that the economy is harsh and inflation is deep, so many things are going wrong in the economy of the country and so much borrowing is going on. It's assumed that you borrow when you do not have. So when you look at the coffers and there's so much within the system, how do you convince the international community that you are actually out of cash? So this is what we're looking at this morning. Now together in the studio with me, I have, of course, Miyabaka Iyanenge MI, and we're looking at this matter together. And before we went on the break, I told you guys that you can actually get a calling. You can actually get to call the number. It will be up on the screen right now for you to get to call in and make your contribution. So back to you. Now, somebody goes to pick up a form for 100 million. And inside that same form that you've picked up, there is a clause. There is a part of it, the nomination form at the page 18, that says that you are not allowed to contest the results of the primary should in case it goes wrong for you. And this is notwithstanding the processes it goes wrong for you. Whether the system is transparent or not, you do not have the right to go to court. And if this is permitted at the presidential, I foresee that it might also come down to the other offices like the office of the governor, where democracy is being tampered upon, to say you can't go to court to contest something you feel didn't go so right. Of course, we know there are three ways they can do this: consensus, direct or indirect, primary. Now, it is not just that. Inside the same form you've picked up for 100 million, you also have a section where you're going to sign a withdrawal, voluntary withdrawal form that is there, that has been written, that you're going to sign to agree that you have withdrawn from a race you just got 100 million naira form for. Is this practically doable? I mean, mentally.
Let me take your word, practical. So it's an issue of idealism and realism. Yes, ideally you say, I belong to this association. I willingly, voluntarily agreed. If I actually endorsed, it's proven that I endorsed. It's my signature verified. I did it willingly. I wasn't under duress or compulsion. That's ideal, and I should comply to my agreement. That's one. But the other part, in reality, is what you find is a negotiation process that will go on. The natural man that we know, psychologists say we are all greedy. The natural man that you know.
We have a caller. Let's take this call, please. Yes. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, your name, where you're calling from, and then your contribution.
I'm calling from Port Harcourt. My name is Emmanuel.
Okay, go on with your contribution, Emmanuel.
What I want to contribute is that this country is rotten. Even the president is rotten. All of them, there is nothing there. No corruption. They are not getting any corruption. They are just making us. They are just using us as a pawn in the chessboard. They are not there. We have no government. We have no government. What we have is a rotten government. They are just making our money, using our money. So
why do you call them a rotten government?
Please.
What is your reason?
They can go to places.
What is your reason for calling them a rotten government? Hello, Mr. Emmanuel.
None of them is working. None of them is working. I'm done.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Well,
you can't call a living being that is still breathing rotten. Rotten, unless you mean it in an idiomatic way, and then so you have to explain to us in the literal term. What do you mean by that? So explain to us what you mean by the president is rotten because he's living.
Okay.
Only someone that is decomposing is rotten.
Yeah, the conduct. Yeah, until.
Let's take the next call. We'll all now build it up, and then you get to respond to them. Okay. Hello. Good morning.
Make all of us get contribution. Let them try go direct.
What is your name and where you're calling from? Then you go on to your contribution.
That's my contribution.
We did not hear your contribution, sir. We didn't get your name, we didn't get your contribution. Please, when you're linked to the live studio, be patient to just wait up and then listen to the instructions you hear so that you can get to communicate with us. 0817-962-4696 says Good Morning Port Harcourt, and we're looking at should the EFCC probe the sources of these funds bought at 100 million naira in the APC. Please go back to your thoughts.
So what you find is among the party faithful, they will of course look at what you have spent, the individuals have spent, and within themselves, because for them to stay together, they will try to appease everyone. So that's why you find the party favoritism comes in. So if they don't do it immediately, beyond after the election, they will make sure that these persons gain something from either from their candidates that are already in power. Let's say they measure.
Can we just take this call, please? Hello, good morning. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Yeah, your name, where you're calling from, and then your contribution.
Yeah, my name is Mr. Eric. I'm calling from Port Harcourt.
Go on, please.
I just want to find out, and I just want to ask a question. Why will APC sell tickets at 100,000 naira?
It's 100 million, not 100,000.
That there's no money in this country.
It's 100 million, not 100,000. He said 100,000.
For the purpose of all these things they are doing, calling us fools, and they are ruling us. I believe that EFCC is the branch of the federal government. They should go in and find out how do they get this money, or who is sponsoring them. After sponsoring them, they win, then the masses will start to suffer. They will be paying back to their government, and if you take it off, and this is not good, this is not good.
Okay.
Is that right? So tell the federal government that what they agree to the citizens of this country is too bad. Millions have died because of lack of jobs. Died because.
Okay, we lost the call. Okay, Eric from Port Harcourt, everybody seems to be lamenting bitterly. Well, let's also put it straight to them. They have claimed that some of them got contribution from fundraising. So that you're guided as well. All right.
Let me also contribute to the last caller that he said, tell the president, now 2023 general elections are around the corner, are the horizon. It's an opportunity for every Nigerian, every river citizen, and everyone that means well, that is a responsible citizen of this country, to be part of the decision process of who gets into office eventually and who stays. It doesn't end with pre-election activities and election activities. No, even when they get into office, according to Socrates, we the people have more power. We are like a basket of tomatoes at the bottom, and then the ones at the top are the rulers. If the bottom gives way, the top will collapse. Until we realize this wisdom, we'll stop crying. So elections are coming. Go get your PVC now. Don't say that's what they do. Last time I voted, no count. No, it will count. There is no country that has never gone through turbulent times, okay, challenging times, but they kept on doing the right thing, thinking and acting properly, and they got to where they are today. So for us, this is that's for the last one. Every other person, please be part of the electoral process. Back to what I was saying. So I said, within internally, for them to stay together, I'm being real now. I'm not being. they will try to compensate themselves. So don't think that it's a loss. 100 million. Let's
just take this last caller that we can now round off. Hello, good morning. Your name, where you're calling from, and then your contribution.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Marshall Harcourt.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Marshall, go on with your contribution. We're listening.
Yeah, I like your topic this morning, and I think if we Nigerians really understand what this
country is, I think we'll be able to know how to deal with our leaders. Because one, APC putting their listing on 100 million is outrageous. We know that most of them are public servants, past and present. And they know the economic situation of the country. They know that Nigerians are dying of hunger. No assistance. But they just want to go in there because of their selfish interest. And at the same time, making more money on the expense of the people. It's so bad. It's so really bad. They have used Nigeria as a business center. They are not thinking about the people at all. If not, we are all Nigerians, and when they get this thing, they will still come back and start giving peanuts to youth who are going to fight for them to be there.
Okay.
Which is totally wrong.
All right. So you have to round off your points.
So it will be better. It will be better for them to realize this and put things straight. Like what you already said there, that in the nomination form they said you have to sign anyhow the outcome is. Now it's just to throw away money.
It's okay. We're going to have to stop the call at this point because we have to round off. Thank you very much, Mr. Marshall, for calling in. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So,
all right,
and rounding off, yes, rounding off, it's about politics and parties about common interest. So they always do that, but it is wrong. That's why they should look at all the alternative sources of funding politics, because politics cannot run without money.
This is for a ruling party,
yes,
because I mean it's assumed that they are contributory funds. Usually, they have states that they are in charge of. They are in charge of the center.
Yeah.
When the party not funded before now? Because if the People's Democratic Party that is not in the center can be as considerate as having lesser amount for charges, forms, yeah. So because we look at them as the two major political parties, even though we know ABGA has one state, but they are the major political parties. Well, looking at it, I would have thought maybe they were trying to streamline the numbers, looking at the fact that so many people might want, maybe they were not envisaging that this number was still going to run. Maybe they were trying to cut it down so that they can filter the crowd of people who they suspected were going to run. Whatever be the case, well, you've heard the calls from Nigerians. I didn't just make the call. A lot of Nigerians have called for the EFCC to do their work, which is if you are going to probe someone who deposits 10 million in a bank and ask the bank to inform you that someone has just deposited 10 million, to probe the source. Why shouldn't you probe 100 million naira deposit into purchase of form? It's the right thing to do. So we await the EFCC on this and see what the outcome will be. Until we come your way, of course, tomorrow on Good Morning Port Harcourt, I would say to you, remember it's a Monday, go out there and conquer your world. You can only do it yourself. If you don't tell them, they won't know you can do it. Go and show what you've got to offer. Have a beautiful weekend. Come your way tomorrow. Of course, on Good Morning Port Harcourt. I want to say have a good day. Thank you, Mr. MI, for coming on the program.
Thank you. So always, you're doing a wonderful job.
Thank you.